Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sec 5, Social and Personal Awareness. And this is lecture for week 12. And it's it's amazing that we have been in the 12th week of the semester. And and I think we have gone through almost half of the semester. Yeah, more than half of the semester already. And during the past few weeks, we have talked about relationships, we have talked about gender, we have talked about sexuality, we have talked about love. And today we're going to switch to a topic that is about loneliness and solitude. So it's about being alone. It's not about interactions with others. It's not about identities in the social in a society, but today we are going to talk about something being alone or being with yourself only. And before we talk about solitude and loneliness, we need to know what they are and some other basic concepts. So first of all, loneliness. We sometimes talk about this word. We sometimes say that we are alone or we are lonely. There are two words that describe loneliness. One is alone and the other is lonely. So I think loneliness basically refers to being lonely instead of being alone. So being alone means that you're by yourself in a situation or in a physical environment. You are not with others. So that means being alone. So being lonely means something slightly different. So being lonely, including being alone, in my opinion, but there is a feeling attached to it. So when you are alone, and you have a sense that you have to be alone, you have to be yourself. You want to be with others, but in this current situation, you have to be alone. So you have a negative feeling about it. And this kind of situation is often triggered by some life events. You have to be there, and you have no choice. So in the textbook, it says the loneliness means that that's an expression of the pain of being alone. So because you are alone and you do not want it, there is a pain that is linked to this situation. So that is loneliness. And solitude is a word that it means really similar to loneliness, but it's a different word. And the solitude oftentimes refers to the proactive effort to be alone. So they want to make time. We want to make time to be with ourselves only. We only want to be with ourselves. We do not want to be with other people. So we make a condition. We make this situation in which we can be with ourselves only. So that's called solitude. So the solitude can refers to the expression of the glory of being alone. So being alone is not something painful, but it's something happy. It's something of glory. So that's called solitude. But why do we want to be in solitude? What do we do? What do we do if we want to be with ourselves only? So first of all, in solitude, we can be our true self because we do not have to behave well in front of other people. We do not to concern about the social norms. We do not too concerned about the etiquette. We do not concern about what other people see us. So we do not have to worry about others' opinions on us. So that's in this situation, in this time, we can be our true selves. We just act based on what we really want to act. So that's why we choose to be in solitude. And also, sometimes we do not want to have a lot of information from other people, from the social situation. We want to have information about our inner self. We want to search for anything from inside of ourselves. What's inside our heart? What's inside of our mind? We want to know it. So we do not want to be bothered by other people or any information from outside of the world. We really want to focus on ourselves. We can do some self-reflection. We can do some kind of meditation practice. We can be mindful by ourselves only. So that's why we choose, one of the reasons for why we choose being in solitude. And what are the benefits of solitude? So if we are in solitude, so what can we have? So first of all, we can have the opportunities for have a self-reflection, for have a self kind of a examination of our own life. We can review and kind of have a evaluation of how our life is going. We want to know about it. We need to have a time to in solitude, so we can like review ourselves, evaluate our life, and also, of course, we can know the self better because you take the time to examine yourself. You take the time to do some kind of self-reflection. You take the time to really focus on your self only. And also sometimes we choose being in solitude because the intimacy is too intense. That's sometimes that's the situation we can meet. Sometimes for most of the time we want intimacy. We want to have close relationships with other people. That's what the nature of the human beings. But sometimes this kind of intimacy is too intense, too strong, and we need to like keep away from it. We need to have a fresh breathing. We need to have some kind of fresh air out of the social environment. So we choose to be in solitude. We choose to be with ourselves. So that's one of the benefits of solitude. So the third question: how to keep in solitude? So how to keep this situation? The suggestion from the textbook says that we can have some kind of meditation practice. We can in meditation, so we are really focusing our inner self. We are really focusing our own body. So that's we kind of know about in the lecture of week 5. And also the similar practice that we can do is to keep mindful, to have a mindful mind, so that we can really focus on ourselves. We can really focus on the present moment, focus on our own body. We can have a really clear sense of what we are feeling in our bodies in the current moment. So that's we can be in solitude. And we have talked about solitude, and there's some kind of types of loneliness. There are different types of loneliness, and we can talk about the first one that is called the transient loneliness. So transient means something is really quick, something is passing by really quick. So it means that this kind of loneliness is really temporary. It keeps for a short time, And this kind of loneliness is due to external reasons. For example, you go to school by yourself, or you have to travel to a new city to go to school by yourself. So on the way, you are alone. You are lonely. You may feel lonely, and that kind of loneliness is kind of transient loneliness. And before you go to this trip, you have families, friends, and after you go to this trip, after this trip, uh, you have classmates, you have dorm mates, and so forth. So sometimes there's we like break up with our boyfriends or girlfriends, and we are in loneliness. But that's transient. You can find friends, you can find new girlfriends and boyfriends. But this kind of a period is you feel really lonely because you're not used to be alone. Uh, so that's kind of transient loneliness. And another type of loneliness, contrary to transient loneliness, that's chronic loneliness. Chronic means something lasts a really long time. So that's a long time loneliness. You feel lonely for a very long time or on a regular basis. It's like a everyday feeling that you will have in life. So that becomes a chronic loneliness. Sometimes it is because some people are not able to develop really close, really intimate, and really meaningful relationships with other people. So that's why they are in the chronic loneliness. Uh, in the lecture, we talk about attachment theory. We have talked about one of the attachment styles that people have is avoidant attachment style. So for those kind of people, they do not really have the ability to trust others. They do not have the capacity to develop really good relationships with others because they do not have a sense of trust on people. They are really concerned about uh, other people, and also we try to avoid people because that's the blueprint of close relationships for them. So for those kind of people, uh, they avoid relationships. It doesn't mean that they do not need close relationships. Everybody needs close relationships. Everybody needs love between each other. But for some reason, they cannot uh, develop those meaningful relationships, so that they are in a chronic loneliness. They do not feel well sometimes being alone, but uh, they cannot mix themselves being with others. That's a problem they have. That's why they have a chronic loneliness. And the third concept about loneliness is everyday loneliness. That's the pain of being isolated from other people. So that every day you may have a feeling that you're isolated from other people. So that's the everyday loneliness. And also there's another type of loneliness that is oftentimes we're not aware of. That's called existential loneliness. In the deep, in our deep hearts, we have a sense that there is a huge gap between ourselves and other people's inner world. So we have our inner world. We know about our inner world, but we do not know other people's inner world. And also, other people do not know ourselves inner world because we cannot read mind. That's human beings. So sometimes I told other people I study psychology, and other people ask me that questions like, "Do you read minds? So can you read minds? Can you read my minds right now?" I said that people cannot read minds. Anybody cannot read minds because our minds cannot be connected directly. We can talk, we can communicate, we can guess what other people are thinking, but we can not directly connect our inner worlds together directly. So sometimes we feel that we cannot be understood by other people, and that's so lonely. If you understand that way, so that's so lonely. That feels so lonely. So that's the loneliness because you exist, because we exist like this. We are just separate individuals. We cannot connect directly. So that's called existential loneliness. But I have a opinion about this. Even though we cannot just directly connect our inner worlds or minds to know each other, but we can talk. We have really developed ability of talking or language ability. So human beings are really good at communication, verbal communication. So talking or verbal communication becomes a very strong tool for us to know each other, to have some kind of indirect connection between each other. So to some degree, we can have a connection between self and others. This gap is not that huge. There is still a gap. It's not ideal, but on this gap, there is still a bridge. I think there is a bridge between ourselves and other people. And also at the same time, we have the same psychological mechanisms. It means that we have the same sets of emotions. So if we learn the chapters about emotion in the Psych 1 class, we can know that everyone, every human in this world have the same kinds of basic emotions, such as sadness, such as happiness, such as fear. So for these emotions are really basic, and we all have them. So that creates a base for us to have a kind of a communication, for us to understand each other. So we can understand each other's feelings and emotions, even though we have different backgrounds. We even like speak different languages. We come from different countries. We are in different genders. We are in different ages. It looks like there are huge gaps among these people because people are in different situations. They have their own situation. Those situations couldn't be understood by other people. But we have verbal communication skills. We have same types of emotions. To some degree, we can have a connection, at least in terms of feelings. And here's our questions for you guys to think of right now. You can pause the video and try to answer this question. The question is, what are the reasons of being lonely for you? So any like external reasons, any internal reasons you want to be alone, or you want to be in solitude, or you have to be lonely, you have to be alone. So any reasons for that, for being alone? And you can give some examples. all of those reasons. And next topic, we switch to a really common psychological characteristic that is called shyness. So sometimes we say, oh, this person is shy, and that person is not shy at all. So what is being shy? What is shyness? Is it different from introversion? Is it different from loneliness? So loneliness is a situation that you have to be. There's a negative feeling toward it. But shyness is a somebody's characteristic. It's something like personality, but it's different from a personality. So that's a characteristic that so for some shy people, when they have interpersonal relationships, when they are in a social situation, when they are with other people, they can have some kind of negative feelings or some kind of discomfort and anxiety or too much caution, and also there are some behaviors that they cannot do, they cannot behave in front of other people or in the interpersonal relationships. And that kind of a discomfort, that kind of a negative consequences in the interpersonal relationships have damaged, have interfered with the personal and professional goals. So in other words, they want to pursue something as a personal goal, or in the occupation at work, they want to pursue something. But that kind of a discomfort and too much caution have damaged those processes, have interfered with those processes. So that's called shyness. So there are some characteristics of shy people. They're overly sensitive to social situations, to relationships. There's too much sensitivity. So sensitivity is a good thing because you take care of other people's feelings when you talk to others, when you are with others. But if you are overly sensitive, you are overly taking care of other people's feelings. So sometimes it creates problems in yourself, and sometimes it creates problems in other people as well. And other people may feel embarrassed by your over sensitivity. Sometimes, sometimes shy people are embarrassed easily because they're too sensitive, they're too cautious. So some kind of situations, those situations are fine, but they feel embarrassed. And also, they are also self-conscious, highly self-conscious, because they are at every moment they are paying attention to how they behave, how they talk. Do they embarrass others? Do they not take care of other people's feelings? Something like this. And also, some kind of behaviors are stopped by themselves or inhibited by themselves. They want to do something in the interpersonal relationships. They want to do something in the social situations, but they stop. They stop themselves from having those behaviors because they think that those behaviors might not be appropriate in those situations. And in the long run, you can tell that they're like too sensitive, they're too vigilant in front of other people, so that they cannot relax their bodies. there can be some bodily symptoms in the long run. So such as muscle tension, they cannot get relaxed. Their bodies are really tight. Their muscles are really tight all the time because they are ready to behave appropriately. They cannot get rid of this feeling of being sensitive to other people, to the social situation, and also their heart rate can be increased. So these are the characteristics of shy people. So sometimes shyness, for shyness, there are some kind of cultural differences. And in some cultures, shyness is a appropriate behavior, is considered to be appropriate. In some cultures, people don't care about people are shy or not. So people don't expect that other people are shy. And one example of the cultural differences about shyness is the differences between individualist cultures and the collectivist cultures. So in individualist cultures, they value the expression of self, they value the separation and independence among individuals. They have assumption that every individuals are separate, they are independent. It's legitimate to behave based on their own goals, based on their personal goals. So that's the characteristic of individualist cultures. And in this kind of cultures, they tend to value direct communication and expression. So they want to say something, they say that. And if they want to communicate with other people, they communicate. They just directly express the opinions to other people without any hesitation. But collectivist cultures are different kinds of cultures. They are opposite of individualist cultures. In collectivist cultures, they value the importance of the group. They value the importance of other people. And also they consider individuals as parts of the larger groups or the larger society. So that the relationships among people are really important. They need to concern about the other people's feelings, of other people's opinions. Also, they can really pay attention to the positions between themselves and other people. Like they really focus on how to behave in front of different kinds of people, and they really focus on how to behave to the people in different positions. For example, how to behave in front of their leaders at work, how to behave in front of their parents, how to behave in front of their children, how to behave in front of people who are older than them, how to behave in front of people who are younger than them. So there are different social norms for different situations when they meet different kinds of people. So in this kind of cultures, they tend to really not show their personal expression. They want to inhibit or really like control their personal expression, including their verbal expression, including their facial expression, including their bodily expression. and all kinds of expression, because they want to be reserved. They do not really want to let other people know what they think of or what they feel. So one example of this cultural differences is that that's what I can tell. In individualist cultures, when they talk, when they communicate, people directly gaze each other. So it means that they directly stare at each other's eyes because they want to know what other are talking about, what the other is feeling about. So they directly look at the partner's eyes. So it's okay. It's a really it's a social norm, I think, in individualist cultures. The direct gaze between each other when the two people are talking. But in collectivist cultures, the other way is appropriate. So when they are talking in collectivist cultures, they do not look at each other's eyes. They do not gaze each other directly, and they look at other people, or they look at the other places when they are talking. So they are talking to you, but they are looking at other places. So it's really interesting. So sometimes you need to really be cautious that who is that person talking to. So there can be multiple people, and that person is talking to you, but he or she is not looking at you. He or she is looking at other people, or just looking at the ground. You need to really pay attention to what other people really, who they are talking to. So that's a cultural difference about shyness. And there can be some negative consequences of being shy. And shyness, to the lesser degree, they're overly sensitive. They're really cautious, self-cautious. They're easily to get embarrassed. Really, they are really pay attention to the appropriate behaviors or appropriate talking in the social situation. But if that is too much, shyness may become social anxiety disorder. So in social anxiety disorder, the patients of social anxiety disorder, they are too anxious about social situations, so that they cannot behave well, they cannot see others, they cannot behave in front of others. They have too much inhibition of their behavior in front of others. For example, they cannot talk in front of other people. They cannot go to school. They cannot go to work because they have to meet other people at work or in school. And I know some patients. I know a friend. I had a friend who had a really severe social anxiety disorder. He told me that he couldn't go to high school later. He was in high school in the first and second year, but his social anxiety disorder was too severe that he stopped going to school. He just stay at home. He was fine staying with his family members, but he was totally not fine uh, staying with classmates in high school, especially in front of girls. That's really interesting. So shyness may lead to social anxiety disorder. So because they're too anxious about interacting with other people. And also shyness is different from personality especially shyness is different from one of the personality traits, introversion. So being introvert uh, often mean that they like to be alone. They do not like to be in a situation there are a lot of people. So they do not really like to interact with others. They do not like to go to parties. They do not like to go to social gatherings. They like to be alone, or they like to be with just a few people. For example, if there are three or four of their friends in a situation, they like to be there. They feel comfortable, but they do not feel comfortable when there are really many people. So that's the characteristics of introvert people. So introvert people, yeah. So they it doesn't mean that they are shy. They may not be shy. They're just they have a preference of being alone or being with just a few people. But shy people, they have negative reactions to social situations, to social relationships, such as oversensitivity, such as some bodily symptoms like muscle tension. So they have a negative feelings and reactions to the social situations. But introverts are not like that. Introverts, they just do not like being with a lot of people. Being with a lot of people for them is okay, is fine, and they can be there. They can be in the party for fine for a long time. That's fine for them. But shy people are not. Shy people have negative reactions to be with any people in general. So it's not about being few people or being with many people. It's about having negative reactions to any kind of social relationships. So that's the characteristic of shy people. So there's a huge difference between shyness and introvert. So the following question is like, how do you tell the difference between shyness and introversion? How do you tell a person is shy or just introvert? You can tell the difference between them using this method. So, for example, the former CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates. So he is really introvert. He is an introvert, one of the introvert people. And Steve Jobs, the former founder, the former CEO of Apple. So these two people were introverts or are introverts, but they're okay talking to a lot of people. So every time Apple launches the conference to introduce the new products, to the new iPhone, to introduce the new iPad. When Steve Jobs was alive, he was talking in front of a lot of people, and also they record his speech. So his speech can be seen by anyone in the world. He was totally fine with that, but he was an introvert. So he was not shy. He didn't have a negative reactions when interacting with other people, especially in this kind of a situation. A lot of people are watching him, and he was fine with that. But he was introvert. He didn't like to be with a lot of people, but he was totally fine with a lot of people, that kind of situation. He gave the speech to the audience. probably shy people are too sensitive. They're too anxious when they are in this kind of situation. So that by that way you can tell there's a difference between shyness and introversion. Okay, so that's everything for this week that you need to know about. And here are some key points that are listed here. And first of all, you need to know about loneliness. You need to know the difference between loneliness and solitude. First of all, and also you need to know about solitude, the benefits of solitude, the reasons for why people are in solitude. Yeah, and the differences between loneliness and solitude. And the next key thing that you need to know is shyness. The characteristics of shyness, the basic definition of shyness, and the difference between introvert people and shy people, and the cultural differences of shyness. And yeah, that's all things that you need to know for this week. And the next, we can go to talk about the journal assignment. Okay, so for this week, you need to finish journal 11 for week 12. And in the journal, you can answer 3 questions. The first question asks you to describe the experience of being lonely. So you can describe the most intense experience of loneliness that you can recall so far. So in your memory, what is the experience that make you have a feeling of loneliness the most? You can describe that feeling in the journal. And after that, you can answer the question, how do you think the experience affected you and may still affecting you right now so far? You can talk about the consequences of that kind of experience. And the third question is, in general, what do you do to overcome this kind of feeling of being lonely? And how effective do these strategies are? So you can talk about the strategies to overcome the feeling of being lonely, and you can talk about how these strategies work, how effectively they they help you overcome the feeling of being lonely. And that's the 3 questions that you can answer in this journal. Let's see the rubric. So one question is 4 points. So there, yeah. And that's the journal assignment for this week. And that's all for this week. And have a good week. Enjoy the time in November. And see you next week.